Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Newcastle. I'm Michael Grahamslaw, and today we're looking ahead to huge Champions League nights, but this one in particular at the Bayer Arena. Bayer Leverkusen versus Newcastle United. Both sides are scrapping for a place in that all-important top 8. Leverkusen in 17th, Newcastle in 11th. It's tight, it's tense, it's Wednesday night under the lights. And joining me, as always, to pick it through is Ian Mackay. Ian, great to have you with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Michael. I am really looking forward to this. Well, in fact, they come every 2 or 3 days, or 3 or 4 days, don't they? What a great run of fixtures we've got right through to the new year.
Very exciting.
I, of course, am expecting 6 straight wins.
And who could blame you? The way we were last season around this stage. Chelsea,
Absolutely.
Bring them on. Man United, bring them on. Sunderland, bring them on. But before that,
Absolutely.
we do have Leverkusen, and both teams are pretty much still in the race for that top 8, which would mean they don't have to play a playoff round in that in the February period. And both teams will probably expect to win their next encounter. Newcastle in particular, we're at home to PSV. And Leverkusen's next 2 games are very winnable on their side. But neither can really afford too many missteps. And before we get into tactics, team news, and all that sort of malarkey, how big does this feel to you in Newcastle season? Because I've seen a lot of people this week saying Leverkusen is bigger than the derby on Sunday. What do you think about that?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a big match, and of course, you know, we're on a run of 10 points from 12 games, despite the misgivings some of the fans have about the win against Burnley and the draw against Tottenham. It's 10 points from 12.
Yeah.
I think it's the start of a big run, and we need a win against Leverkusen to really take the pressure off for the rest of the Champions League games, because then a draw at home to PSV will get us qualified, at least. And if we beat them, we've got a really good chance of finishing in the top 8. You get a free hit at PSG, don't you?
Yeah.
But so I think we've got to go for a win, and a win in the Champions League just sets us up confidence-wise to go to the Stadium of Light, where I think we'll be needing to dig in and work really, really hard. But if we can do that with confidence rather than fear, I think we've got a great chance there as well.
Yeah, 100%. I completely get where you're coming from. It's one of those where if you go into Leverkusen like scared little kittens, that's going to transpire into the derby as well. You don't go from scared to really confident in the space of a couple of days, particularly not in football. Let's zoom in on Leverkusen first. They've had a bit of a weird Champions League campaign, starting off with a 7-2 hammering at PSG. They've grown into it a bit. They beat Benfica, but so did we. And then they beat Man City away. I mean, away is pretty impressive, but we have also beaten Man City. So, they scored with both their shots on target. Mark Flecken had the game of his life. It's not quite as impressive as 2-1 with a dodgy winner. But domestically, they are doing a lot better. 23 points, 28 goals scored, 19 conceded after 13. But they are coming off a 2-0 loss away to Augsburg. And the significance of that is it's the first game they've been without left-back Alejandro Grimaldo, who is their main creator. They really struggled to create in that game, and there's rumours that he's going to be missing tomorrow. Now, Bayer Leverkusen have said that hopefully he's fit, but if he's not, that's a big, big improvement for Newcastle. But they're not just a one-man team. At the Bay Arena, 3 wins in the last 5. This Leverkusen side, it feels like at the start of the season we were saying, under Eric Ten Hag, this is the game away you want. But after they've dispatched the City, do you really think we're favourites like the bookies say, or do you think it's going to be much tougher than anyone anticipates?
I think it's close, but if I had to, I'd say we edged favouritism. It's probably what the bookies have got. Leverkusen lost to was it Augsburg, you said, and they lost the previous league match as well. So They're not indestructible in the slightest. And as you pointed out, 2-0 at Manchester City, when you read that, you think, oh, wow, this must be a cracking team. But the stats, the only stat that they had in their favour was the fact that they'd scored 2 goals.
Yeah,
Everything else was
absolutely.
very much focused on Man City, and they just had one of those days where nothing would go in. So, yeah, I think we're probably right to edge it. But, we'll probably be just about favourites at Sunderland as well. And,
We
I'm
are, yeah.
certainly not counting any chickens in that game either. Um, I'm not completely confident about us away from home. I know we've had some good performances away from home in the Champions League so far. 4-0 in Belgium, and I still think we should have got all 3 points at Marseille. Somehow contrived to lose that.
Threw it away, yeah.
But the performance was very good. I think if we play as well as that, with a rub of the green, then we are right to be edging favouritism, and I do fancy us.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those where it feels like in the minute, every game Newcastle are slight favourites, but every game is very, very difficult. And our European story hasn't exactly been straightforward either. Obviously, we had the early defeat to Barcelona, then 3 wins on the bounce put us in the mix. And then, as we mentioned just there, Marseille last time out, 1-0 up, 2-1 down. Took the lead through Harvey Barnes, didn't really do too much else creatively, but it was at the back where we let ourselves down. But in the league, you mentioned it before, it's looking a lot better. 10 points from 12, scoring 8, conceding 4, includes a big 4-1 away win at Everton, who look
Yeah, very
incredible
good.
right now. Only 1 win in 8 on the road, but how do you assess Newcastle's form right now? Do you think we're turning a corner?
I think the 2 young fullbacks coming back in has made a big difference, Michael. I think we get to play our game. We get to press. We get to press, and we get to turn over 10, 15 yards further up the pitch,
Yeah,
and that obviously that advantage is showing in far more attack and play, more goals, more chances. Um, we've got a little bit of a trump card or a joker to play in that Jan Wisser will come on for at least the 20 minutes that he got against Burnley, I would think.
yeah,
Um, and we've never had that striker like that this season yet. I just think with our wingers fast running, the speed, that could be a completely different dimension that we bring to this game. But
100%.
I think we've got enough. If Wissa wasn't fit, I think we'd have enough to do Leverkusen. They have got some really good players, but they're a really young side, aren't they?
Yeah, we've got some great, great young players, which I'll go into in a bit of the team news. Before we do that, I'm going to just come back to point you mentioned there, Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento, the 2 fullbacks. You rightly mentioned, we've mentioned it a few times on the pod when they were injured. Those 2 coming back in is massive. And I think one thing we saw from the Burnley game was those 6 changes. The most important one for me was Lewis Hall being drop because he wasn't going to play 390 minutes in a week in 8 days. But are you confident Lewis Hall can make it through 70, 80 minutes in both games? Do you think he's at
Yeah,
that point now in his fitness?
I think he is, and I think that's why how left him out against Burnley, and he came on and played very well in the last half an hour. He came on for. Um, so yeah, I think that's where he is. He can certainly start and play 60, 65 minutes. Probably squeeze him out to 70, 75 if we need it. But I mean, hopefully we're ahead by then. Um, I just don't want to see. I just don't want to see midfielders coming off and more centre halves coming on. I think when we did that
Completely agree.
against Tottenham, it gave them a hope and they took a full advantage. But we should have been holding on to the ball in the Tottenham half and we'd have won that game
Yeah,
2-1.
100%.
But that's just because I know more than Eddie Howe, isn't it? He said sheepishly.
Hindsight is a lovely thing indeed, isn't it? That's the thing. It worked against Manchester City. It worked a bit against Bilbao. It just didn't work against Tottenham, unfortunately. But who could foresee a centre-back scoring an overhead kick in the last minute? It only happens against us. I'll say that. Malik Chow will score a 90th minute winner against Leverkusen with a bicycle kick now. So while you dream about that and think about that, we'll go to our first advert from Bionic.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionic, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionic provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionic. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Right, let's talk team news and shapes. There's some interesting details in there. I'll go through Leverkusen first, and then Ian, if you could give us the news from St James's Park. Well, the Newcastle camp, should we say. If anyone's at St James's Park, they're definitely not playing. But for Leverkusen, we are expecting something like a back three of Quansah, Bade and Belachian with Mark Flecken in goal. You'll recognise Flecken from Brentford, Quansah from Liverpool. If you remember, he made his debut in that 2-1 defeat where Darwin Núñez got a break. Yes, sorry for bringing that back up. But then they'll play Ernest Poku and Alejandro Grimaldo as the two wing-backs. Those two are the ones where they're going to really get forward and cause some damage, but also if we can get in behind, we can cause a lot of damage there as well. Alexi Garcia and Mazza in midfield. Tilleman and Poku or Christian Kofan will support the well-known Patrick Schick up top. Some of you, if you aren't familiar with the striker, he's the one that scored the halfway line goal against Scotland in one of the major tournaments a few years back. Palacios, big thing for Newcastle, the big bulky Argentine centre midfielder. He's out with a groin problem. Grimaldo has been back in training. They're optimistic that he can play, but they're not sure that he's going to start, which is big news for Newcastle. But that's pretty much Bayer Leverkusen. I'm not going to go too much into their style of play, except from the fact that we can expect a high pressing style. That three at the back will pretty much sit, and then you're basically playing a five in midfield. But Ian, what are we expecting from Newcastle United? You tuned into Eddie Howe's press conference earlier. Let me know what he said.
Well, the news was basically there's no news. He's got the same squad that was available for the Burnley match, which means Botman's still out, of course. Pope's still out. Kieran Trippier's still out. I think that's it, isn't it? So quite a full squad to choose from. He's denied in his pre-match press conference that he would be picking a team with one eye on the Sunderland game. He said he's got his full fit squad with him. He's going to pick the strongest team he can pick, and he'll have the strongest team he can pick to play against Sunderland as well. So if I was picking his strongest team to play, that would be obviously Aaron Ramsdale in goal, Livramento and Hall at full-back. Malik Chow would start, probably alongside Big Dan Burn, who got a half an hour rest on Saturday when Hall came on for him.
Yeah.
I have a sneaking suspicion, though, that maybe Chow gets a rest and Shah could start. That's if he is actually doing what he said he wasn't doing and thinking about the Sunderland game. Yeah. Midfield, I will go with common consensus, which is that we keep Joe Linton in reserve to be at his feistiest for the Sunderland game, and play Gumaresh, Tonali, and I'd bring Lewis Miley in. I don't think either. Well, Ramsey certainly didn't, and Willock played. Didn't he play the whole game? And Miley didn't. So I think Miley starts. Willock's the first change in midfield. Up front, Faltamada will start at number 9. Be prepared for Wissa to come on after an hour. And then I would. Do you know what I would actually do? I would play Barnes and Gordon, but I think he'll go. I think he'll go Barnes and Murphy.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'd love to see Barnes
Mm.
and Gordon, because Gordon looked back to his best against Burnley, in my opinion. He looked fantastic, and I don't think you can drop Harvey Barnes. And I know if a player does miss out, it's very likely he plays the next game or the game after that as a starter, so much as we're playing every 3 days. But Anthony Gordon, he's been pretty good in the Champions League, it does have to be said. Voltemada picks himself. And then, yeah, I don't think either Alanga or Murphy have done enough with their recent performances to justify that right wing spot. Alanga was good against Burnley, I think. Murphy
He's
has had a drop off, in my
he's getting
opinion.
there, isn't he, Alanga? He seems to be getting there.
Yeah,
But yeah, I watched Murphy against Tottenham midweek, and he had a bit of a stinker, to be
he was
honest.
the worst player on the pitch for me, yeah. I think with Alanga, it feels like the confidence is there. He's starting to take on players again, which is, the reason we bought him. You basically bring in Usain Bolt on, and then Usain Bolt's going, well, you know what? I'm not going to
I'm
run.
just, I'm just going to knock it back there. Well, the one thing I did like is he did cut in a couple of times and take a left-footed shot.
Yeah,
One Dubravka saved very easily. The second one, which he curled and just went past the post, I thought that was worthy of a goal. That shot, that was very close, and Dubravka was beating all ends up. So good. If Alanga's starting to get the hang of things again, that would be excellent, because we do need a change on that. I mean, it's not many weeks ago that I was hoping that Asula would get a start on right wing,
true.
because neither Murphy nor Alanga was doing it for me. But I do think Gordon should just, for the sake of the team, have a little run down the right wing, starting with Barnes, because we've seen Gordon can play down that right wing. I,
Um,
I'll never forget the cross he put in, the first time cross for Isak to score against
Against
Arsenal that
Arsenal.
time.
Yeah, great
He can
cross.
put a ball in from the right hand side, and I'm sure he would enjoy linking up with Bruno and Tino. Um, but maybe he didn't fancy right wing when it was Trips he had to link up with and Sean Longstaff. I think he should have a go at it, because I think Gordon's head and shoulders above Alanga or Murphy at the moment. Um,
Very possibly
even
so, yeah.
even Barnes played down the right in one game, didn't he? And he did all right. He did fine.
Yeah. The really good thing about Barnes and Gordon is they can both rotate quite nicely. Murphy gives you a bit more on the defensive side of things. He can pop in at right wing back. Alanga, we don't really know quite what he brings just yet. We will after a few more games once he's settled in. But Barnes and Gordon both being able to play left and right. Barnes obviously likes to cut in. So does Gordon to a degree, but Gordon's so much better at getting to the byline, as
Yeah,
we saw against Burnley. Although he did everything pretty well against Burnley. But
put some great crosses in. Remember as well, Michael, we do have to try and adjust to life without Jacob Murphy, because clearly Arnie Slot is going to break the bank to bring him in to take
yeah,
over Mo Salah's right wing spot. So
and
Isaac's
he
got a
always
chance
gets
of
his man.
scoring more than once every 12 games.
Yeah,
That's
to
not
be fair.
that's not news. That's speculation.
No, that's an exclusive courtesy of the Daily Newcastle. Just to go to that, to be fair, how baffling is it that we're sitting here going, you know what, I'd play Gordon on the right wing instead of Jacob Murphy, and you've got Baldi's in Liverpool gone, we just didn't have a Jacob Murphy that we can play alongside Alexander Isak. The
And,
person
and,
that put on social media, you've bought the phone but forgot the charger.
yeah.
Get him to get the lottery numbers, because absolutely spot on. But yeah,
Well,
what
I
did you
think
think of that?
if anybody wants to know why Mo Salah is a bit cross, I think I think that comment in Slot's press conference that we haven't got a player of the profile of Jacob Murphy to play in the position that Mo Salah has been one of the greatest Premier League right wingers to ever play.
Yeah,
I mean, that is a snub. That is a snub and a half. I'm not surprised. I'm not sure he should react the way he's reacted, but I'm not surprised he was really annoyed at it.
yeah,
Um,
true. I
but I
completely
don't.
agree.
I'm not saying that. I don't think we should. We should discredit what Jacob Murphy did. He is
No,
selfless. He's selfless, and that's why Alexander Isak scored 20 odd goals that season. And
100%.
Liverpool don't have a selfless winger; they have stars who want to do it for themselves, and that's why he's not getting any service. He looks bloody lost. I
Yeah.
watched him against Leeds, and honestly, it looked like he was waiting for a bus a lot of the time.
I almost felt like with that comment, and this is the last we'll talk about Liverpool, but it almost hit me that I was sitting there thinking, you know what Arnie Slot wants to say? We don't have a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold. But he knew
Mm.
that if I say we're missing Trent Alexander-Arnold, I'm going to be butchered. And then he
Yeah,
went,
he would.
who's the next person I can speak of? Oh, Jacob Murphy. And to be fair, Jacob puts in some delightful crosses, but Liverpool put in more crosses than Newcastle last season, more unsuccessful ones, might I say, as well. So it's not the fact that they don't have players who like to cross. It's just the fact of Newcastle are simply better at putting the ball in the box, particularly now. Jacob Murphy is still here, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is warming the bench in Madrid.
Mm.
But back to Newcastle Leverkusen. Some individual duels. We mentioned a fullback or a wingback, should I say, who can dictate the play. If Leverkusen do have Alejandro Grimaldo fit, he is enormous for them. He's the kind of wingback that gets you 10 goals, 10 assists every season. He's electric on set pieces, like a Spanish James Ward-Prowse, and he offers a huge threat from that left-hand side. So Tino Livramento is going to have his work cut out for him, and it might just be why he sticks maybe Anthony Gordon or Jacob Murphy on that right-hand side, because they can both defend a little bit more. Also, you've got Patrick Shea.
Or Miley, because Miley backed up Tino Livramento to snuff Jack Grealish out of the game for Everton. And Grealish was on it. When that game started, Grealish was on it, but the pair of them were so good at tying him up. He didn't really do anything. You could tell he roamed to try and get into the game, but couldn't get in the game. So I think Tino's a good man to have that, and Miley's a good backup on that side.
Yeah, just another reason
see.
you start on the Newcastle man, isn't it? He has been a bit of a revelation, to be honest. Since he's come in, he's been really, really solid. And I think Joe Linton's probably in a position at the moment where this time 4 months ago, 3 months ago, we were saying, oh, Jacob Ramsey's going to come for Joe Linton's spot. Actually, the biggest threat has been here the whole time. And how likely do you think it is that Lewis Miley cements that third spot in the Newcastle midfield in the next year? Because he's had some great performances this year already.
Well, I hope he does. I think what I'd have to observe is that if we are going to be regularly playing 60 plus games a season, we won't have a 3-man midfield. We need that rotation. But I do think Lewis Miley should not scare anybody when he's stepping in to take over from either Bruno or Tonali, because he's done both those this season very, very well. Now, it's no surprise to me, Michael, if you remember, I was screaming for him to come in and to get more time 18 months ago, because I could see all of that when he was a 17-year-old. And I'm so pleased it's working for him. I'm so pleased we're finding a time for him that we couldn't find for Elliot Anderson, because let's be honest, if Elliot Anderson was still here, he'd already have taken Joe Linton's place, in my view.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's one of those where I'm still not sure he would have got the game time, just simply because Joe Linton is that fan favourite, and I think Anderson needed a full season to really show how good he is. But the potential was always there. We saw it. And if Joe Linton was out for, let's say, a full season, you probably would have seen it in a Newcastle shirt for Anderson.
Well, he dropped out, didn't he? He dropped out at January the 3rd when he got injured against Sunderland. And he was out for a long stretch at the end of last season with a recurrence of that injury. So, he could have had that time. But, I'm not scared of that happening again this year. I think we've got 2 or 3 that can step in. I still love Joe Linton. I still think that he's the guy who leads the charge, isn't he? And if he's on 100%. His very presence is so intimidating. And I think the rest of the team raises its levels of intimidation to match. But we've seen 1 or 2 games where he just hasn't been on it, and he's been disappointing.
Yeah, it's been a shame, hasn't it?
But yeah, he's still got an important role to play for sure. I think he'll be key at the Stadium of Light on Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's one of those for Joe Linton as well. Yeah, it almost feels like sometimes he's trying too hard. Like he's got that in the back of his head of, I need to be on the top of my game because I've got a World Cup potentially coming up with Brazil in 6 months. Or I want to be at the top of my game, but I don't want to get injured. And who knows what's going through his head, because the psychological battle of knowing you've got that coming up and then being dropped from the squad for the most recent round of fixtures. Now, he's going to have a lot going on up there, which is not what people would normally say about Joe Linton. But on his day, he is one of the best in the league in that position, particularly as the bruiser. And then on the worst of his day, you see him like he has been a bit this season, like we saw against Bournemouth last season, where he just clotheslines the goalkeeper in the back of the head for no reason. But he's still got a really big part to play for us. And I think the derby is the perfect time to do that. But back to Leverkusen, I'm going to go into our second advert of the episode. This one from Zencaster, and then we will go into our predictions for the game.
Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster.
Lovely stuff. And I do have to say, I've been talking in this episode like the PSV game that we have next is a given. I've just checked the scores there while we had the advert. PSV are 1-0 up against Atletico Madrid. So it's one of those where if that was a given, I mean, people have seen them against Napoli as well, but they're a much harder side than we give them credit for. So that builds me into my next question, Ian. So I've seen some people saying we can settle for a draw here and try and focus on the derby. I've seen some people saying this is the must win this week. What do you think? Is tomorrow, a must win for Newcastle United against Leverkusen?
If we can win both of them, it sets us up right the way through till we play whoever it is at the end of January. I think we could, if we win both of them and we get into that run, we knock Fulham out of the quarter-final next week. We've got Chelsea at home, which we always beat Chelsea at home, and then it's Man U away, and you know what we've done there the last couple of years. That is momentum rolling into the Crystal Palace and Leeds at home, all winnable games right the way through. I think they're key for us to win these games. That said, because we've got that run coming up, I don't think either of them are must win. I think must not lose, possibly. If we get a point at Leverkusen, we still do have that PSV game. And you remember the last time we played at PSG, we came away with a draw as well, Michael.
We did, yeah.
So that's not a forlorn cause. And the Sunderland game is a must not lose, but that's more for religious reasons. But I'd love to win both of them. I really would. I really would love to win both of them. I think it sets us up, and we can start discussing us going up the table from then on. I just think that would set us up. Wissa gets fit. Wissa gets sharp. Find out a little bit more how Voltemada can play slightly behind him. It should be lethal second half of the season. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
Not if we lose these two games this week.
Yeah. You've set me up quite brilliantly for a question I wasn't going to ask you, but I'll give you two scenarios here. Let me know which one you would pick. So Newcastle United, scenario A, Newcastle United beat Bayer Leverkusen and Fulham, but lose in the derby to Sunderland. Or scenario B, Newcastle beat Sunderland, but lose to Leverkusen and Fulham. Which one are you taking out of those two?
Well, I don't know enough Sunderland supporters for it to make any major difference personally. I want to beat Leverkusen, and I definitely want to beat Fulham. That puts us in the semi-final of the League Cup that we're defending. We can't just
Sure.
accept we're going to get knocked out of that. So I would let us lose at. Oh God, they'll never ask me to appear on here again if I say it. I would take a defeat in the derby to win the other two.
It's a big, big statement. And to be honest, when you look at things from a financial point of view and from a business point of view, it 100% is the right option. I'm not sure I could handle a loss in the derby, to be honest, but I might have to. But I do kind of agree. I'd go for the potential reward of a further run in a cup run. I'll be honest, in 6 months' time, and that's not 6 months. In 2 years' time, I'm not going to remember a derby against Sunderland if we lose 1-0. But I would remember another cup final, and I would remember Newcastle United getting some brilliant knockout ties in the Champions League. So
It's a short pain because let's be honest, we're going to get them back at home at sometime in March, and we beat them there,
true.
and it's a draw. It's a draw again, isn't it? So
Yeah,
anything we get at Sunderland is a bonus. To be fair, generally, if you get a point or you win away from home in your derby, it's a bonus because you're always hoping that you're going to win your home derby.
yeah.
So
Batter
yeah,
them at
so I
home.
I, I
Never
I
think they
think that
can.
I would take that if I could have 3 points against Leverkusen and knock Fulham out.
Ooh, big, big statement. But all right, we can't dodge it any longer. I'm going to ask you for your prediction. Leverkusen have only lost one of the last 6 UEFA games against English sides. They've kept a lot of clean sheets in Europe, but when they've played Newcastle, they've lost 3-1 twice, with Shearer getting a hat-trick at the home leg and Shola Ramiobi getting a brace in the away leg. Obviously, we smashed Everton quite recently. Leverkusen been pretty decent themselves. What are you going for? Who wins it? What's the scoreline?
I am going to go. Am I just going to go 3-1 without thinking about it? No, I'm going to go for Newcastle to win 2-1 and the winner to be scored by what wouldn't actually be the first Congolese striker to score for Newcastle in the Champions League at Bayer Leverkusen because Loa was Congolese, wasn't
Yes. Yeah, Lamana. That's great knowledge.
he?
That is
And he'll,
great, great
so
knowledge.
Wisher will get the winner. He'll come on and he'll get the winner.
What a start to his career that would be. And hopefully he doesn't injure himself doing 7 backflips like Loa would. I remember that hat-trick against Portsmouth. Yeah, less said the better. But yeah, for me, I do agree. It's going to be a really tight game to probably go towards the end of the game where either team's going to pick up a winner. I'm probably leaning towards a 1-1 draw, but I'm going to be positive and say 2-1 to us. I think we take the lead early on. They'll get a goal back. Probably Patrick Schick giving up. Given how many chances we gave to Aubameyang against Marseille, I think their striker will probably get a few chances and put one in the back of the net. And then, who knows, maybe Anthony Gordon getting the winner and getting himself continuing his redemption arc after a poor end of last season. Because he is starting to get back into it. But yeah, for me, it's going to be a really tight game. I'm really looking forward to it. Leverkusen, one of my first memories is that hat-trick Shearer at St James's against these, so it's a nice one for me. I'm sure many others who were there as well. It's a huge night for both clubs, and I genuinely think this might be the biggest week in our season. What do you think?
I agree. Like I say, I think these two games set us up. They set us up to run right the way through to February. And if we have disappointing results, compounded by poorer performances, I just
Yeah.
think that all of that excitement that I've got now will be killed off, and we could end up, knocked out of the League Cup and still in 11th place by the end of March, which would be awful.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those as well. We've just been drawn against AFC Bournemouth in the FA Cup. A bit of a bogey team for us, particularly under Eddie Howe. So it's one of those where it does kind of look like League Cup success is a bit more likely than FA Cup success. But we'll see how that goes. That'll be on we reckon the 10th of January. But big thanks as always as well to Ian for your insight and joining me today. Thanks to you, our listeners, for wherever you are in the world. From our Rapt, I know we've got people in USA, Australia, everywhere, and I absolutely love it. We'll be back after the game to break down all the action from the Bay Arena and see what it means for the league table. Catch us on our social medias and on the radio with NUFC Talk TV. I'm Michael Grameslow. Enjoy the game, and I'll catch you later.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.